Can we just briefly, whoever wants to take it, what happened in the last 8 days? No, 9 days, whatever it is. Like there was like a 7-day rolling short stake from the OA, and then more stuff happened. What happened?
Yeah, I'll give you my quick take on it. The OA, I believe, has put HEX into safe mode. And what that means is short stakes totaling something like 10 million t-shirts, roughly. I'm not going to add them up right at the moment. And long stakes of roughly 10 million t-shirts, effectively reducing the rewards by 70%, roughly, and in terms of APR, and puts HEX in a safe mode. For those who think that it makes a difference, yeah, a whole bunch of HEX was locked up and now, quote unquote, isn't available on the market. And this is a supply squeeze, because now with the OA having that many t-shirts, 2/3 of the t-shirts, not only is it receiving 2/3 of all the rewards, anybody who does dare to merge the end stake, the OA gets 70% roughly, maybe, of all of the penalties, right? Because it gets half the penalties to start with, and whatever its share is of the penalties that would be going out to the stakers. So safe mode, baby. It's safe.
Wow. And so, yeah, Ben, any piece to elaborate on, or any even different perspective on it too? Because I think the supply squeeze is one thing.
Yeah, I shared my screen, by the way. I just made some numbers before the stream. So you see these 4 squares. I mean, that's what kind of like happened. So on the left side, you have Ethereum. On the right side, you have PulseChain. On the top, you have the 15-year stakes of the OA. These are all the OA stakes that I was querying. And you can see that many stakes were made, like on both Ethereum and PulseChain, slightly different, but 2,600 stakes were made. And these 2,600 locked up basically 200 billion HEX on Ethereum and PulseChain. That is 15 million T-shares. Was all staked 15 years. And it's also 2,600 daughter OA addresses that have staked. And it all started on February the 8th. And before that, we had the 7-day stakes, which were 350 billion on each chain. Somehow on Ethereum, there were 7 stakes, and on PulseChain, there were only 4. Don't know why the different number, but yeah. And on Ethereum, you had 7 addresses staking, and on PulseChain, you had 2 addresses staking. And all started on the February the 5th. So in 2 days, the stake should mature, and it can be end staked. There is the grace period, obviously, of 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, these are just like the raw numbers of what's happened. And when you want to see my old supply chart that I had to grab out of my archive because it was never really changing, here you can see the real supply between locked and circulating from the start. And yeah, you can see that the locked ratio just went up here to exactly 92.49%. And only 40, this is on the Ethereum side. PulseChain looks the same. But yeah, it was a very boring chart until recently. So this is for new people to understand historically how the supply had been issued. Here, starting with the adoption amplifier, there was a close to 90% locked in the first month. And then the OA increased its share, most probably through the adoption amplifier. And then up until Big Payday, at Big Payday, the OA staked kind of all of his coins to get the payouts, and then unstaked it just right after. And yeah, so this is what happened. And now we were talking about the supply shock that is coming. It's not coming all of a sudden. It's coming basically slowly.
Yeah.
The supply that we are actually concerned about is the user circulating supply. And I have like tracking that actually over the months, and it was just increasing and increasing since PulseChain launch. So that combined with some other charts of mine where you see like the average yield just increasing all the time because these old stakes are just like bringing out all of that supply.
Real quick too, is this amount staked? Is that pretty accurate to what we have?
It is exactly the same number. We have 92.49 on Ethereum. And HEX win. Yeah, just very accurate. So these are very accurate numbers. HEX.win has always good numbers. You can trust them.
Yeah, they're awesome. Anything else on this piece? Anyone, you can question in the chat, get them in if you have any questions on like what actually happened. There's a couple in here I want to get to, but well, let's
pop up my chart. I'll knock it off real quick if you don't mind.
There we go.
Yeah, just to show you the effects of this. So we need to wait and see what happens with the 7-day stakes. But what this is projecting out is the share rate based on the current reward levels that we're seeing. And so how this is different than before all these stakes were made is that we have a slightly lower end of 25 T-share rate, somewhere around 45,000, 46,000, when it would have been more like 49,000. And this will give us some insight into what the effects will be on this, because with the lower yield, the T-share rate goes up, but it goes up more slowly. All right. And so a lot of stakes have already served all their time, and they're going to set, or most of their time, they're going to set the new rates as this year goes on. But the further you get out, the more opportunity there is for the T-share rate to be lower, a lower increase. And so prior to these events, we were looking at something like 49 at the end of 25. So we'll just say 50 at the end of 25. We were looking at 60 at the end of 26, and something like 70 at the end of 27. And so you can see that the numbers have dropped down as far as this forecast goes, what the T-share rate will be. And again, that's as a consequence of, right, the new share rate calculation includes how much reward you would get. And I can't possibly know the future. So this is just one scenario, right, of what might happen.
That's absolutely correct. Like this is a good projection. The projection is the T-share rate is increasing now slower, also adding towards like having less supply because the payouts are just lower for the old stakes. Yeah, I mean, I find it incredibly good because again, every system where you lock up your coins, yeah, should it be your fiat system where you lock up your coins, you want first and foremost that the value is preserved within that coin. So if you don't believe in the value that it's preserved, then the yield means nothing. So you have to kind of like, you know, believe that the value can be maintained, that it's a store of value. And really, if like HEX wouldn't move now in the second cycle, that could, you know, like tell us, you know, maybe it's not a good store of value. So we need to kind of make that higher high. It needs to go up. It needs to overtake 50 cent in the second cycle. We have 1 year or maybe 1.5 years. And if we do it, then we maintain basically the store of value. So the locking up makes sense. So the yield that you get makes sense.